Sacral sites shrouded in ancient legends and mysteries. Places which, based on beliefs, are vested with unearthly powers. What did those who built them believe? How did those people see the world and their place in it? A group of scientists from Nazarbayev University, researchers of Kazakh geography, Kazakhstan National Geographic Society, travelers and writers have embarked on the expedition to pierce into their mysteries. In this episode, what are the features of the sacral site of Kyzyl Kent? What do the legends about the Kent Mountains tell? And why some tourists are cautious about Kyzyl Kent? The expedition started in the national capital. The experts in our team represent different spheres. We are both historians and anthropologists, people who can read documents and these capable of working with live information holders. Altogether, the scientists intend to investigate 6 sacral sites. They started with Jibek Ishan Mazar in Pavlodar region. The mausoleum is an extremely interesting place. Jibek Ishan Kazret was a teacher and a visionary that lived in the 18th century. His descendants are still engaged in what their grandfather used to do, maintain his legacy and raise awareness about him. There's his museum and they keep on finding documents about him. The Akkol Mosque became the expedition's second destination point.
Информации, по сути дела, по данной мечети, которая живет одна в этой оставленной уже деревне.
We managed to talk to the only living record keeper about the mosque, who still lives in this deserted village of Akkol Aul, Gulshara Pai. The mosque is really interesting for me as an ethnographer. It's shrouded in local legends, superstitions and rites. Gulshara Pai said that the mosque and the ancestral spirits are not letting her go. She contemplates leaving every year, but every time it doesn't work out.
Каждый год она хочет, думает об отъезде, но каждый год вот не получается.
The Buddhist temple of Joly was our next target. In the 18th century, some observers, in particular German scientist pioneers Miller and Gmelin, who worked for the Russian Imperial Academy of Sciences, they already found it in deplorable condition. It was falling apart already back then. There used to be quite an impressive library of Tibetan, Mongolian and Jungarian manuscripts. According to their notes, the library was distributed over the monastery's premises. In fact, the development of Russia's Oriental studies per se, in particular Mongolian and Tibetan studies, began with the attempt to translate these manuscripts into Russian and European languages. After Joly, the team headed towards the Konya Aulia cave. This cave was revered by people long ago. We were able to find traces of a shop dating back to the Neolithic era. We found an anvil, metal splits and the remains of tools that they produced there. It means that this area was already inhabited at least in the 6th, 5th millennia BC. The glory of the next site waiting for investigation rattles across Karaganda region. It is called Kyzyl Kent. The Kyzyl Kent temple became the second Buddhist site that we decided to explore. Like in the case of Joly, it is obvious that the Buddhists that had built Kyzyl Kent chose the location very carefully. They followed certain canons while selecting the exact place. North of the temple there are mountains, and south of it there flows the small river of Taldinka.
С юга, на юге течет река, это небольшая речка Талдинка.
У тибетских буддистов существовала целая отрасль, дисциплина.
Tibetan Buddhists had a whole branch, or say discipline, devoted to finding places for subsequent construction of monasteries. I think they didn't find this place at once. It was the outcome of a thorough search. Buddhist geomancy experts took many factors into account, like an open valley in the front and beautiful mountains in the back of their facilities.
Впереди должна быть открытая долина. Сзади, как правило, должны подпирать красивые горы. Буддийская культура, она достаточно сурова, в ней нет того...
Buddhist culture is rather severe. It lacks the suprastaticism of the Far East, Zen Buddhist or Chan Buddhist cultures. As a rule, everything is extremely simple. Rectangular shapes, rather massive columns, walls and roof. The landscape itself assumes certain brutality and monumental architecture. Inside, Tibetan temples are very bright. Multicolored paints prevail in decoration.
В них преобладают такие яркие, разноцветные краски.
Я уже бывала в Кентских горах, и вот этот...
It's not my first time in the Kent Mountains. This particular monument, Kyzyl Kent, falls within the Jungarian period. The legends that I heard earlier have very little connection with reality. For example, some of they say that the Jungars came with their princes, and that they were caught in a snowstorm in this gorge. So they had to stop and wait for some time. As we can see, the scale of construction indicates that they must have stayed here for more than a mere 2-3 days.
На 2-3 дня их строить, тем более в условиях пурги.
The Kyzyl Kent temple dates back to the 17th century. These finds were not found in situ. They were later collected from among the locals. A large burial barrow opened up due to flood, so rodents and children started finding various plaques and other objects that later ended up in adults' hands. So when we heard about the barrow and came here, we, for example, found this Chinese mirror at one of the locals. It's decorated with Buddhist scenes. It's bronze and silver-plated.
Со сценами буддизма. Оно бронзовое, посеребренное. Обнаружили фрагменты плакет.
We have found plaquette fragments. That is, a carved wooden plate that has kept its sacral color pattern, golden and red tones. Most likely, it was painted using cinnabar. Have a look at the ornament features. On one side, it's sheep horns, a traditional Kazakh ornament called koshka moyes. Putting it down like that, we see that its bottom is cross-shaped.
В основании ее лежит крест.
Have a look at these coins. The one on the left was actually found in the occupation layer. On one side it has the name of Emperor Suanier, and we precisely know when he ruled. It's the late 17th, early 18th century. On its other side it has wishes of good rain. 20 years later, surface investigation gave us this second coin of 1 yuan. It was literally found on the surface. It rained heavily at the time. It dates back to the time of a different emperor who ruled 100 years later.
В начале 2000-х годов Турикулов.
In the early 2000s, the Turikulovs, the architects from Kaz Restauratsia, executed 2 graphic reconstructions of this temple of the Tibetan and Lamaistic styles. They came to conclusion that it made no sense restoring this temple. They thought it would be better to just preserve these ruined remains because we have very little data.
The
place became a tourist attraction. In fact, not just a mere tourist attraction, but an actual modern site of worship. And not only for Buddhists, but also yoga adherents. There are regular excursions to the site. Unfortunately, to our big regret, there are practically no professional and committed tourist guides striving to enhance their scientific knowledge. The things that they tell about the Kyzyl Kent Palace are beneath criticism. The excursion is called the Terror of the Kent Mountains. What terror? They say that watches stop there and that pictures taken there don't turn out, that cell phones don't work there. Indeed, the connection is quite bad here, but there is nothing wicked about it.